During the Cold War, the Soviets carry out covert science experiments in remote locations. One place will become known as Plague Island. But it only becomes a priority for U.S. spy agencies when a boat strays too close to shore. The Aral Sea, deep inside the Soviet Union, 1971. The research vessel Lev Berg is working in waters near a remote island there.
It's a normal day on board when suddenly the ship runs into something strange.
It's a brown cloud of haze hovering just above the water, and it's too late to avoid it. The ship sails right through it.
On board the ship, a young researcher comes down with a mysterious illness, and a terrible rash breaks out all over her body. When she gets back to her home village, her illness spreads.
It's a severe contagion. Within weeks, 3 people in the town are dead, including 2 newborn children.
Doctors find out that what she was infected with was one of the most deadly diseases that humans have ever encountered, smallpox.
Smallpox is terrifying. It killed more people in the 20th century than all of the wars in that century combined.
But the researcher is vaccinated against smallpox. She should have been immune to it.
1 year later, a fishing boat is found washed up near the same island.
Inside the boat are 2 fishermen stone cold dead. Meanwhile, nearby, other fishermen are bringing in catches filled with dead and dying fish.
When villagers examine the bodies of the dead fishermen, they find them covered in pustulous swellings.
The lesions on these fishermen are consistent with bubonic plague, one of the deadliest diseases that confronts humankind, with a fatality rate of about 50%. When U.S. intelligence agencies get wind of these strange deaths, they have questions. What's happening on this remote island?
The island is located 1,500 miles from Moscow. Access is restricted by the Soviet government.
American spies have been trying to study the island for years. Photos of the island snapped from spy planes and satellites show that it's far from ordinary.
Other settlements nearby have fishing piers and fish packing sheds. The secret island appears to instead have things like barracks and rifle ranges, as well as animal pens, research buildings, and what appears to be an open-air testing site.
The images confirm the CIA's worst fears. The island is clearly a military scientific research base.
But the question remains, what kind of horrifying weapons are being dreamed up and tested there? What's going on this island remains a mystery until after the end of the Cold War.
In 1992, a year after the USSR fails, Soviet military microbiologist Colonel Ken Alibek flees to America and brings with him the truth about Plague Island.
The former insider reveals that the island is more than just a military scientific base. It's devoted to transforming natural diseases into deadly weapons, biowarfare, which is illegal under international law.
For decades, the Soviets have been experimenting here with some of the deadliest diseases known to man.
Beginning in the 1930s, they're attempting to weaponize everything from smallpox and plague to these monstrous viral diseases which have no known cure.
They were trying to make bacterial pathogens resistant to antibiotics, make viruses more difficult to detect and treat.
What they hoped to create were unstoppable plagues, which they could launch at their enemy, the United States and her allies. Things that were developed on that island still, to this day, have no cure.
Safety protocols are tight, but these guys are playing with fire. And sure enough, things go wrong, very wrong.
Just a little leak or the smallest spill can have deadly consequences.
We have no idea how many people were killed in the process of developing these weapons.
To this day, Plague Island is one of the most poisonous places on the planet. At the beginning of the Cold War, Washington is on edge about the threat of communist infiltration. In 1956, a book by Edward Hunter is published that confirms the public's worst fears. Its subject: the Soviets are developing brainwashing as a weapon.
When Edward Hunter comes out with his book, really just throws a lot of kerosene on a fire that was ready to explode.
Hunter claims that Soviet brainwashing science is now so advanced, it can create a kind of mass hypnosis across the country that would rob Americans of their free will entirely.
He suggests that the Soviets could do this at such a wide scale to create an army of puppets under Soviet control.
Hunter bases his claims on the idea that Americans captured during the Korean War were brainwashed into making false confessions.
I came over here and dropped germ bombs on people.
Hunter traces Soviet brainwashing experiments back decades to before the Russian Revolution, to Nobel laureate Ivan Pavlov.
Pavlov is world famous for his pioneering research into the brain. A film produced in Russia in 1926 illustrates his work with dogs.
Pavlov is most known for his conditioning dogs. He trained dogs to react to a sound. Every time they heard the sound, they would get a treat, to the point where every time they heard the sound, they would start salivating in anticipation of that treat.
Pavlov calls this behavior conditioned response.
What he's proved is that essentially the dog's brains can be hijacked.
Hunter gets a lead that Pavlov's experiments went far further than most realize.
Hunter learns from a source that Pavlov's experiments didn't end with dogs. He hears that there is hidden secret footage of other experiments, and he sets out to find it.
After months of digging, he manages to trace a copy, but his book keeps the source under wraps. When he sits down to watch the secret film, he discovers something terrifying.
The footage from 1926 proves that Pavlov's work extends into much darker experiments than his famous animal research.
What Hunter finds is footage of Pavlov running the same experiments, but with human children. He conditions young orphaned boys to have the same salivating response to a sound that he did with dogs.
He'd force feed the children, stimulate the wrist, force feed the children, stimulate the wrist. They'd start salivating.
Pavlov's proving that humans can be conditioned just like dogs.
Hunter wonders if the Soviets aren't using this kind of conditioning brainwashing tactic on prisoners of war.
If a human can be conditioned, then how far could that conditioning go?
2 years after his book comes out, Edward Hunter testifies before the House Committee on Un-American Activities.
Hunter warns that the US is losing the Cold War because the Soviets have such a massive head start when it comes to psychological warfare and mind control techniques.
He wonders if the Soviets haven't honed this research and have been doing mass brainwashing for decades.
In a country that's already on edge about the communist menace, Hunter's report about the advances in brainwashing science by the Soviets just ratchets up that fear to a pitch of utter hysteria.
There's a final twist in the tale of journalist Edward Hunter.
So a number of years later, it was discovered that Edward Hunter actually wasn't who he purported to be.
He's an agent of the CIA, operating in their propaganda wing.
Pavlov's experiments on children were real, but the link Hunter makes to Soviet mind control is entirely fictitious.
His writing about brainwashing is in effect a black op, designed to spread mistrust and hatred of the communists during the Cold War.
Once you have a negative thought or feeling about an individual or a group or an organization, it doesn't take much to continue to build that confirmation bias that they are bad, that they're trying to do nefarious things against us. And so that's what he was doing by spreading this disinformation.